Hey, everybody, this is Perch. We got a mail here that it's going to be a different answer for everyone. So I think it's a very personal answer, but I'll give you my logic behind it. But I think it's a good question. Um, I've been thinking about comics lately, and there's this thought that, well, I mean, I'm always thinking about comics. It's a dumb way to say anything. But, this channel has been going for 5 years, 5 weird years. I went through all kinds of stuff personally that we've never talked about on the air. But some very much relatively big things, life-changing type things. But it's also been, and this is the downside to it, this has been a little bit of a 5-year audio history of, somebody falling out of love in many respects with comics. And I hate that. I hate that that's kind of the legacy in some ways that has emerged. It is that is what it has become. It is the 5-year journey of somebody in many ways falling out of love comics. Now that's a little melodramatic because I still love comics and there's still plenty of books I read and there's people I enjoy and everything else. But what I didn't expect out of this channel was the kind of the depths of which things would go. Where, that I definitely assumed, because it's human behavior and it's logic, that we would see I don't know, that it wouldn't continue to escalate because things tend to have a venting or a breaking point that occur. And so the idea that the angst and the frustration and the anger and all that kind of stuff would continue to just escalate. And worse than that, when it was very, very clear that it was self-destructive. It's as if the industry looked at, things like, angry YouTubers. And they said, we don't like those people. And that's fine. But we're going to spend a majority of our time talking about those people. Okay, but why? And years later, when it's proven that you're not getting rid of those people, that you're not really making a dent in it, and the choice seems to become focus on the love of comics, focus on what makes you happy, focus on making great art, or dunking on people in social media. A number of people who make comics picked the second one, like seeing the choice very clearly. And that's why it's surprising to me that it's continued, because you could forgive anyone, quite frankly, for a year, 2 years, 3 years, spell of experimenting with stuff, thinking that this stuff is going to be okay. But at some point, it's crystal clear that the gossip, the rumor mongering, the back channeling, the bullshit doesn't work. Now, I'm older you're getting older all the time. So the idea of self-reflection, it's not lost on me that this is a art or not a skill everybody has, at least. But amazing to me how people can delude themselves into thinking that their actions are not self-destructive or that this is all normal. That's wild to me, because it's abundantly clear at times, not at times, at all times, that this is self-destructive. This is not working. This is not the way things, this is not how to help yourself. And you can generally trust most people to act within their own self-interest when push comes to shove. People being generous, being gracious, it's nice, but, people take advantage of that. I can't begin to tell you the amount of times people have taken advantage of, I try and do somebody a solid and it blows up on me. Happens a lot. But generally people revert to self-interest. And pretty amazing that pretty amazing actually that the comics seems to not get that final lesson in a lot of cases. I can't tell you the amount of people, customers, fans, creators, etc., who seem oblivious to things they do and the consequences of what they do. It's wild. So this is a long entry to a question that is only sort of related to this. But there's comics that I love for sure. But what a tough 5 years for comics. And the toughest part is it seems to continue to get tougher. And yes, I am the person, I've said it myself and I'll say it again. You know, as much as you can, avoid the negativity, shield it out, focus on the things you love. That is the right thing to do. But it also must be said, that is easier said than done. But talking about what makes you happy. Here's a mail I kind of like in this. I like this mail because it again, it asks a question that it's going to be different for everybody. So I'll give you my answer. But here goes. It says, "Hey, Perch, I was just curious how many books people need to be good to be happy with comics. I'm currently at the point where I have to not order books because I can only afford 20 to 25 a month. So it's a lot of books. Many comic shops would consider you a whale, sir. Right now, I feel like there are so many good books on the shelves. Marvel has Fantastic Four, the whole Ultimate line, and the new Thor run. DC has Bats and Soups, World's Finest, and their Scooby-Doo books. I admit I didn't see that last one coming. Anyway, then on to Image, the whole Energon line, the Lemire books, Monstrous, Kaya, the Pew Radiant series, and honestly, even more. Then Boom has some awesome books. Conan at Titan. IDW has Sonic and Star Trek books. Then there are the awesome collection imprints like Fantagraphics, Drawn and Quarterly, Magnetic Press. I just named more than 20 books that I am enjoying and I really like to read every month. So my question is, how many books do we need to be happy? P.S. It says I don't have social media besides YouTube and Reddit, so I'm taking purely the comics people taking home and reading that stuff people are not reading or just talking about online. A good last disclaimer there, i.e. the actual readers. Sorry, I know, but and piracy for another time, but and performance talking about comics for another time, but you know, there is something to be said for you got to put some skin in the game, and having to click through some ads is not skin in the game. But anyway, how many books do you need to be happy? And I gave that in that opening because it's important to ground yourself back here. You know, my answer, how many books do I need to be happy? 2 a week. Honestly, that's it. I'm a really easy person to please. If I have 2 books I enjoy a week, I'm happy. I would like there to be more. You know, there has been absolutely times in my long life of reading comic books, 40 years of reading comic books, that I know there were weeks where there were 10, 12 books a week that were great, that I loved. You know, that was a great feeling when you have so many to read. Did you ever have the experience where you bought a bunch of comics and you're sitting there with that stack and you can't decide what to read first because you know there's really great stuff in there? And like I've heard, I am this way. I think many of you are this way. If, you know, years of talking at comic shops are true, you tend to save the book you think is going to be the absolute best, the banger book for last. You want to end on the best book. And so you've had this struggle of like, man, I don't know which book to read first, and how do I sort this out? There's just so much good stuff. I've had those weeks. I'm not having those weeks now. I don't have that amount. But if you're able to produce 2 books, just 2 a week out of all the comics being published that I'm going to read and enjoy and have a good time on, not be disappointed by, I typically am happy. Now, you know, that's basically 8 books a month. That's it. Keep in mind that the comic industry is publishing like, you know, 500, 600 books a month. So that feels like an easy bar. But I'll be lying to say, for me, it's been a struggle at times to get those 8 books a month that are really great. They're out there. Again, I think you have to hunt there. And I think the trap a lot of us fall into, to be blunt, is that you fall in love with a book. You fall in love with Spider-Man, and a new creative team comes on Spider-Man, and it's not as good as the book you fell in love with. You know, we like to talk about modern things, but you know, let's do something different. You had John Byrne on Fantastic Four, and that was a hell of a good run. You had Walt Simonson follow along later, but that was also pretty good. But you know, when a different creative team came on, you know, and you had Miss Thing, and then you had the thing was wearing a helmet, and they just cut some of this other stuff. Like there were, it wasn't. It felt like a letdown. And in my mind, I say to myself, man, I just wish Fantastic Four could be as good as, you know, this awesome Byrne run. You know, I wish I didn't enjoy at the beginning, but I came to love the Hickman run on Avengers. And I remember, you know, the follow-up to that, and I'm like, I miss Hickman. I miss that Hickman run. You know, I miss, you know, you have Remender do a really good X-Force run. And then I think you had Cy Spurrier do a run right after that, or Brian Wood. I don't remember who did. I think that, anyway, it was not as good. Spoilers. And so I get frustrated, like, damn it, you know, I was enjoying this comic, and then now I'm not. And I say that was a trap because in some ways it is. In some ways that would mask the fact that there were other good books out there. You know, Remender would go on to do other things. And, you know, he was doing the Uncanny Avengers run, and that was a pretty good run. He you know, he was doing cool stuff over there. And so it's not like, you know, there wasn't good comics to read, but when you're reading a comic that's an ongoing comic and then it changes, you tend to get pissed off because you felt like you had something and then it was taken away from you. And I think that kind of makes this whole, it makes you overlook the good things that you have. So for me, 8 books a month. And I would say, you know, right now in current times, I've had a couple months where I haven't been able to hit that. But, you know, many months I can. And I do long for the days when there was, you know, 8 to 10 books a week or more that I was loving. But the mail is a good wake-up call, and it's a good reminder. You know, we can fall out of love with comics. We can, you know, and by the way, mine has nothing to do with the content inside of comics. The falling out of love has to do with the behavior, the people, the mess. And you're seeing me take steps. You know, I'm about to just quit Twitter entirely. You know, I'm backing away. This channel is, you know, it's ending. It may wind up going on a hiatus for a while because I need to, you know, even before it is, I don't know. I need to re-energize this love, or at least kind of get out of the sourness that's creeping in more and more and more. And, you know, with the recent scandals and everything, it's just not working. So, how many comics do you need to be happy? Because sometimes you get the feeling from some of these people who complain and complain and complain that they're looking for 100% of all the comics are great and they love them and that's what it's going to take to make them happy. And that's just ridiculous. We've never had that. So how many comics do you need? If you were able to get X number of comics a week, what would it take for you to be satisfied? Let me know in the comments below. Like and subscribe. And it's been 5 years. Thanks for listening.